just text me if there's important info, because that'll come up faster.
I know, but the plan right now is just.
Just like that. We're live. Thank you so much for joining me. Whether you're watching this back, watching this live, I appreciate it very much. Just getting fully situated here. Just settling back in. I mean, time flies when you're having fun, right? It's like all of a sudden, back, rocking and rolling. Lost a little momentum on the streams, when I took my vacation, but I feel like I'm going to get that back. Just got to give it some time, right? And again, thank you guys for being here. And as you can see on the screen, thank you for 2,000 subscribers. I realized I didn't mention that anytime recently, and I hit it like right before I left for vacation. And also, I just reached 1,800 on X here, so I'm incredibly just thankful to have made it this far, and I think I have a long way to go, but met so many people along the way. The cool part is too, I feel like the people that are watching my channel and I'm interacting with actually like it's like legitimate interactions and actual good information being bounced back and forth, and not just like I'm spamming out stuff and then non-consistent people on the channel. So like tend to shy away from using the word community, but I feel like I'm building my own little community sort of thing here, and you can think what you want of that, but thanks for all the love. Also, I posted on YouTube as well as X. Did pretty good on X, honestly, better than I imagined. Just about some of my latest thoughts on GameStop, talking about how one, no dates, and two, some of the moves they might make in the future and how they're going to go about CandyCon and whatnot. So let's get the stream tweeted out here, posted. Whether you call it or X or Twitter, I don't know. I don't care. I use both at this point. I still mostly call it Twitter. That's just how people know it. It's just how it goes. But live now on YouTube, talking GameStop. We'll say talking GME, big, Bitcoin, Ethereum ETF, or we'll say, what did I name it? Talking stock market's falling. Okay, there we go. Let's make life easy, right? I guess I should probably maybe tweet this out going forwards a little before the stream so it kind of gets into people's feeds, but with something like this, kind of luck of the draw, right? Where it's like if you just so happen to see it at that time. But then maybe people watch it back or watch a few minutes, whatever the case. Listen, I'll be perfectly clear. Also, I understand not everyone can watch like every stream, everything or see everything I put out, but like any support at all or anything that I put out that you consume, like I am really incredibly grateful. So, just to be clear. But yeah, just getting back into the swing of things. I wrote this mostly while I was actually in the airport going from Croatia to Austria, and then something was off about it. I couldn't figure it out, and I was like, I'm still in vacation mode. I'm like, let me just like stash this away, save it as a draft, and then sort it out when I get back. And it took some time, but I was able to, and put a whole big write up into this. And shout out to what's his name, Aaron. I'm sure you guys have seen him on X. He posted a really good article. I actually really liked it, so we'll briefly go through that in a little bit here. Seems like a cool guy. I don't know him that well, but I've seen him previously, like just kind of in passing, but I saw he wrote a couple articles recently, and I respect the grind, and I totally understand what he said here. Um, like in the reply, because I definitely do want to go through the article where it's like, well, that only took about 4 hours to write. If you think you should be added to the article, let me know. GameStop community, please give me some love. So I get that because like writing this stuff takes a long time. Like that Larry Chang one, I probably put combined 2 hours in because when you want to make it good, like I really try and take the approach of you write it out, you look at it, grammar correct it, improve it, then reread it and think how you can improve it more, then reread it, improve it more. Okay, reread it. Now, how can I shorten it and be most direct to the point? Because we live in a world where there's low attention span. And also, I want whatever I'm putting out to be valuable information, not just padded with nonsense, right? Like when you write essays in school, you pad it with nonsense, right? Kind of like mainstream media financial articles. You pad it with nonsense, right? Because you got to make the word count. When you're writing something you care about and you actually want it to be perceived in a good way, it takes time and you don't want it to be overly long for no reason because if in this case, right, to clarify, what Aaron wrote here is lengthy, but it's in detail, and I feel like everything included was valuable information. Like there really was no fluff. But point being, like I get it because I do my own thing too, right? I respect anyone that puts out content, whether I agree with it or not. I do respect the grind of it. So yeah, and I'm not saying like, oh yeah, like you guys have to like my stuff because I put so much time, right? No, like I'm choosing to do that, but I just get it. That's all I'm trying to say. And like I don't know. For me, when I do a long form post, I want it to be good. Like I'm not going to take time to write this. Like even this, right, doesn't look that long. This definitely took me like about an hour. I would say I average about an hour on long form posts, like on X, right? But also I try and make them detailed. And if you want to check them out, they're like on my highlights page on X. So really, I mean, this is not that detailed, right? But most important, so I like to look back on these in the future and then either reference them on a stream or for myself when I'm researching like what I'm going to talk about next, right? So yeah, let's hit the chat real quick. Oh, I just didn't get my laptop going on the side yet, but appreciate you guys being here. What's up, Tetron? Checking in from Wild Alaska. Keep it up, Scott. Appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. What are you doing in Alaska, man? Are you always there? That's awesome, though. What's up, Tetron? Accumulation phase for me. Carter's. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, no, me too. Honestly, we want to go back to sub 25 range, low 20s. I'm a buyer at these prices, honestly. Like, of course, though, make your own individual determination where you're at financially. If your position is what you want it to be, you don't have to force it. You don't have to just keep buying because you read about the stock and talk about it all the time. Not to say you shouldn't be if you like the stock. However, just know thyself, right? Like knowing yourself is so important and where you're at with things. Okay. Actually, I want to put GameStop in the beginning because that's probably I'm trying to improve all the little things, guys, like the description, the thumbnails, all the good little things that take you a long way on YouTube. So I contemplate. Sometimes I sit here and I'm like, should I put this first or that? Or does this sound better or does that sound better? Right? So, but just like GameStop, brick by brick, brick by brick. So let me just make sure I get this up on the side or I got the chat so it's easy to access. So I do, and those of you that may be new here, I always interact with the chat. I always want to hear what people have to say. So go to the very bottom of the GameStop homepage and click on the C copyright logo, and it plays a video of a cat playing a piano. Brett, thank you for being here. You're absolutely right. I just saw someone post that again. I saw someone had posted that a while back, but wasn't sure exactly what the deal was. And yeah, it's legit. It works. I just tested it before, so go ahead and try it out yourself. But we'll go through Aaron's article in a moment here. But just looking at the price action, this is year to date. So while maybe you're looking at it now like, oh, not much has happened over the past month or so, or whatever the case, right? However you're feeling right now, what I keep going back to is if you told me on May 1st that the stock price was going to be 150% higher and the company will have raised $3 billion through equity offerings, I would have said you're crazy. There's no way. How could that just happen in such a short period of time? Yet that's exactly what happened from the period of May 1st to, I would say, about mid-June, right? Really only a month and a half period where it was all done, right? And it was all complete, or like the dilution was announced here, or this was the day Roaring Kitty streamed as well. I believe I'd have to check my exact timeline. But point being, if you were liking the stock back here, you should really love it now with way more cash and at a way better price. So just in terms of like if you're feeling some type of way about the price and maybe you're just holding at this point, you're not buying or selling, or again, you're making your own individual decisions because it is very important. But if you're thinking like, all right, I'm just kind of letting it go sideways at this point in time, or just holding, then it's in great shape relative to at any point earlier in the year. Because even if you go to its high of the year, right, where this little jump after Q4 earnings came out, $15 were still significantly higher than $15, right? You might say, oh, 15 to 24, that's not very significant. Percentage wise, it's a pretty good chunk. It's definitely over 50%, right? Because 50% of 15 would be 750, so it's 2250. So say 65-ish percent maybe GameStop's up. So just food for thought there. And of course, the macro right now is pulling back. That's partly, I would say, why GameStop's momentum derailed a little bit because You look at the highest day, July 16th was the peak for the S&P. I mean, peak for now. Obviously, it's just been like a week or so where the markets have pulled back, but we were due for it. It's healthy. When the market goes up this fast, it can come down just as quick. So do keep that in mind, because since just April, again, like a little bit over 3 months, right? May, June, July, exactly 3 months, right? From April 19th to now, pretty much. The price of S&P went from roughly 495 all the way to 565 at one point. That's just such a massive move in such a short period of time for arguably the most major index in the world. So pullbacks are absolutely healthy and necessary. But when you look at 16th, and then over here you had the 17th, that's when it started pulling back, right? So just around the same time period that S&P starts pulling back, that GameStop does. However, how I keep thinking of it as how I keep thinking of it is looking back here, they had roughly $4 in cash per share. Price was about $10 a share. Maybe it was more like in the 390s, but just use rough numbers here. That basically makes it so that 2.5 times the cash balance of the company is the valuation of the stock as a whole. If you scale it up now, they have about 970 in cash per share, roughly, right? When I did some napkin math over here, I equated to 962 per share. So if you do 962 per share times a 2.5 valuation, that gives you 2405, right? So say it's kind of in the similar ballpark that it was to over here. If we do get to a situation where it goes to 20, which I'm not saying is impossible, you're looking at a situation where half the market cap is represented in cash, and of course it is to be determined what they do with that cash. But basically, that when the stock goes to $20, the market's pricing in that no major activity is going to happen with an acquisition or the company turning around or adjusting in some shape or form. So just my thoughts there on that. But truly, like, after we went through this little time period where there's just a lot of talk, a lot of hype, especially coming back from vacation, like, very zen, very zen. And apparently, as we get into it here, Aaron is I think he said like Taekwondo instructor, and he owns his own dojo in the UK. That's pretty dope. That's the cool thing about the GameStop story to me too, is that there's so many unique, and of course my laptop died as I'm trying to get the chat up. So many unique people with different stories, different backgrounds, some from finance, some from not, all kinds of career paths, left, right, center, every race, every country, right? Like, there's so many different people. Like, the true meaning of diversity. That the GameStop community to me is the true definition of diversity, where you have just so many different people from so many different backgrounds and perspectives, and they just like GameStop. They just, when I say they, just individuals just like GameStop, and that's what brings them together, and that's what to me makes it the best community in the world, in my personal opinion, right? And again, I use community very loosely, because this is not a community of, oh, we all do this, we all do that. I'm making my own individual decisions at the end of the day, and you should always be as well. I really, really do think that's important. But there are a lot of people like GameStop and are interested in what's going on, and hence why I like talking about it. But really, you got to make your own decisions, because I'm not going to make you $1 million. Ryan Cohen's not going to make you $1 million. Warren Kitty's not going to make you $1 million. Who's going to make you $1 million if you want $1 million? You. Just look in the mirror. That's your answer, right? That sounds dramatic, but yeah. What's up, Tetron? Laya Investing. Hope you're doing well. What's up? What's up? Sharon. Hello, hello. Everyone popping in the chat. We love to see it and see. You guys are great. You guys are great. That's the thing too. I feel like everyone's very like respectful. That even when a shill comes in, as they say, a shill, or just someone's just coming in to wreak havoc or just say some nonsense, like, it's all chill. Like, I just say whatever. Like, it's all right. I can deal with it. I invite the shills, right? Well, I got an opportunity to buy GME today. I bought a few shares at 24.69. Elia, yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more, and I'm exactly the same. Like, I bought a couple shares today, nothing major, like literally 2 shares. Again, nothing major, but that's my style, right? Just accumulate little by little by little. Even when I buy Bitcoin, right? Like, I bought it on the pullback, which I'm going to get into a little bit later. But I just bought so little that I'm like, why didn't I buy more? Like, when it was pulling back here, like, I bought like 25 here or something like that, and then I bought like maybe another 25 here ish. I don't know. I'm just guesstimating here. And then I was like, wait, okay, so I only bought 50 bucks. Like, what is that going to do for me, right? But technically, I did average down. But also, I'm just, for me, I very, very slowly build. And that strategy I just outlined is what helped me build a massive position in GameStop over the years. And also, I do have a significant amount of Bitcoin already, not just at $50. So, to me, like just dollar cost averaging is the way to go because just trying to pick the right moment when you're trying to go long on something is just so difficult. And then it's so frustrating, right? Like imagine you're watching GameStop from here, right? Like you're like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna pick the right moment. It's going sideways, sideways. I'm gonna wait for it to drop a little more. Oh, it starts going up. You know what? I'm just gonna buy in. And you buy in for 29 right here. Now you're sitting here going, I could have literally bought for 24 if I was just a little bit more patient and I bought 5 trading days later, right? Then you start kicking yourself. You're like, oh my God, right? And I'm just saying from the perspective of someone who maybe is watching on the sideline over here throughout all this, like, okay, I'm going to get it when the right opportunity arises. And then they buy here, and then it goes here. And like, damn it. Meanwhile, if they had that initial thought here, okay, I'm going to start, I want to get in, and they bought one share every single day, their average would probably be right about here right now, right? And then right now they'd be looking at this as like, oh, okay, great. I can average down even more because I have a long-term perspective. So that's really how I go about it. Really GameStop and Bitcoin are two things I've accumulated the most of, where just buy a little, buy a little, buy a little, buy a little, buy a little. And I just personally feel better about that, especially as a young individual where I'm just really still building myself up. I've only been out of college for it's like 2.5 years now because I finished in December 2021. So pretty much around the time this channel started. I technically started this channel in college though, so it's about 3 years old. But I was at the very end of college at that point. But point being, I started small and also, prior to college, like yes, I did work at Marshalls and I was a manager and I was able to get some money there, but paying for school and life's expensive. So really now where I've settled in and I'm working a day-to-day job, now, more recently just starting to dabble in selling puts a little bit for some extra income and I'm just getting started with that, not going like all in on it. But point being, I've been also needing to build up my savings account. You might think, oh, well, cash is trash. Like, you're not going to make a ton on that. But I'm thinking, okay, well, I need an emergency fund. I never had that before. And again, I'm 24 years old, so I'm not in the same situation as everyone. So I can only speak from my own perspective. But I'm okay. I need an emergency fund. I need money I'm going to be putting aside for vacations. And you might think, oh, wow, you're just going to go take vacations. And yeah, I am. I think everyone deserves a vacation, number one. And number two, it's about what you want out of life, right? Like something that's really important to me and my girlfriend is traveling and seeing the world. Prior to going to Croatia and then that one night in Austria, again, amazing trip, incredibly blessed. It was like everything I wanted, then some. But that was really important to us because both of us had never been to Europe. Both of us had never been to any other country besides Canada, and not even together, just separately. And then Canada's not that much different from the U.S. I mean, there's definitely differences. No offense to Canadians any which way. And that was good perspective when I went there. Don't get me wrong. But I never really flown somewhere far and felt like I saw like a whole different lifestyle, go to a whole different continent, right? So that was truly an amazing experience for me and something I want to do more of because I want to see just how the world works. I feel like going somewhere else, I really got a perspective of how the world works. And obviously, still naive 24-year-old, retrospective to like the world as a whole, the average person, however much they've traveled. But my point being, like, traveling is important to me, so I value it, right? And for me, like, I don't really care about like nice clothes, nice shoes, or anything like that. If I'm going to spend money on, or where I choose to use my disposable income is towards food. I'm a foodie. Like I love a good sit down meal and then vacationing, right? To travel places. And I really haven't done that much prior, right? Like I've been to, I went to Texas to visit a friend. I went to Arizona. I went to Florida. So I'm on the East Coast. So those were interesting places to me. But, just getting the ball rolling and just seeing different perspectives of the world and getting an idea where I want to go in the long term. So, yeah, that's enough about me. But let's get back to GameStop here. All right, I got this pulled up on the side. Bro Clayton, that's awesome. It really works. It does. Yeah, Stony, it does. Thanks for being here. It's true. It's a nice little Easter egg. I love it. And just put all chat on so I don't miss anything. But more today too. Hey, Sharon, join the club. Giga Hell, long time no see. What's up, everyone? What up? What up? Thanks for popping in. Vienna is so awesome. Vienna is an awesome city. Alaska has an amazing wilderness too. Yeah, Vienna. was incredible. It was amazing, and we got upgraded to a suite, so it was like so nice. It was only one night because our layover was either going to be 1 hour or 24 hours. And I said to my girlfriend, I'm like, let's do the 24 hours and then we can spend one night there. I went to this palace that they turned into a museum and it was really, really neat. Like the infrastructure was just really cool. There's this ginormous garden with all these sculptures. And then inside they turned into a museum with all these different pieces of art that have been brought in over time. Not necessarily all of them being old pieces of art, but some of it was, and just the infrastructure was nice. But yeah, Alaska, that's on the list, right? That's not like the top of my list of places I want to go, but it's on the list. I'll say that because it does seem unique. And Scott's there right now, so I hope he's having a good time, enjoying whatever he's doing. But all right, so let's go through this article by Aaron. I feel it's pretty well run, pretty well written, and then also just really highlights like the big picture right now. So he says a British gamer's guide to an American gaming company that's been blasted by the media and people that just don't get it. So, is there a better way to read this? I thought there was a way you could like pop it. Oh, okay. That's what I was trying to do, but same thing. Buckle up because this article really delves into the many levels of this wonderful company, and I hope you enjoy the read. Here's why I've fallen in love with GameStop and why I believe it will continue to build, change, and improve. So let me get some water before this real quick. GameStop returned to profitability in 2023 for the first time since 2018. Small profits, yes, but they've reduced their overall expenditure dramatically and can now work on increasing revenue streams. Very true. Brick by brick, these things take time and patience. How will they increase revenue? Keep reading. So technically, net $7, and this is net income. And then 2018 was the last time prior. So this is from 2017 to 2024, and obviously many down years. Didn't really get much better initially, but then 2024 was really like where things change. Or well, also this is inaccurate. It's like -1 because this was year 2023 for GameStop. They're counting as 2024, right? Because GameStop has their own calendar. Every company has their own calendar, but you guys get the point. GameStop has 4 billion. That's 9 zeros cash on hand. They raised from the ATM market offerings. At the market offerings, if you're not aware, that's what ATM is. Diluting their stock during recent out of the ordinary price runs of the price. Or out of the ordinary runs on the price. This can be seen as bearish for stockholders, but has drastically increased the chances of mergers, acquisitions, and pivots. Has also completely nullified the narrative that companies can go bankrupt anytime soon. Compare GameStop's cash to Best Buy, who currently has around 1.2 billion. So, a couple of things here. One, he's absolutely right. It completely nullifies the narrative that the company is going bankrupt anytime soon. Even with a billion, to me, it was pretty nullified, but big time now. It's like, okay, good luck with that argument, right? They have 4 billion in cash. And he's absolutely right, increases the chance of mergers, acquisitions, and pivots. However, I feel like mergers, I don't really see that happening, right? I see GameStop sitting as GameStop, the overarching entity. But I really do think acquisitions are coming. But based off Ryan Cohen's commentary, very brief commentary that is, during the annual shareholder meeting, he said something to the effect of, we are seeing unprecedented fiscal and monetary policy over the past several years that's led to highly inflated valuations of companies. He's paraphrasing here, right? That's basically what he said. So that little piece of information tells me that he's saying, without saying, like, we're not going to go acquire anything until this market as a whole crashes or valuations fall dramatically and within range where we find it to be reasonable and the best for the long term of GameStop, right? And then we can talk about the logo a little bit later because there's a little bit of speculation on that, but we'll see what happens, right? Of course, I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. I truly don't think anybody can. So just be ready for anything and everything. And in terms of the ATM offerings, you might say, "Oh, well, that's bearish, right?" But again, the stock price is 150% higher than May 1st, roughly, right? Maybe 140% right now, give or take. You get the point here. It's more than double. Show me another company that can complete 2 rounds of dilution and then its stock price can still hold up significantly higher than the previous dilution that took place. Not to mention that the first share offering, 45 million shares sold over a 6-day trading period, an average price of 20.74. And then the more recent one, average price of 28.49 over only 3 trading days, and that was 75 million. Yes, there was more volume and attention on the stock at that period in time, but it was truly an unprecedented time, right? Where it's just like out of nowhere this started happening. People say, "Oh, Roaring Kitty," but I personally think Roaring Kitty knew that that time period was going to happen. That's just my opinion. You're welcome to disagree. And I'm not saying he wasn't a factor at all. Like, yes, obviously him coming back brought eyes to it, but I think even without that, there would have been big moves with GameStop stock. Maybe not as big, but I still think it would have moved dramatically. Because also keep in mind, if you look at when exactly he came back, this price, I think this gap up here, right? I think this Sunday, May 12th, was like the day in between here, right? Because this is a Friday, then this is a Sunday. This Sunday, I'm pretty sure he came back, like right here. And with that being the case, the price had already run from like it started moving up, right? A couple weeks prior, but then it really has a strong week where on the week prior, it goes Thursday, Friday, has two big green candles, and it kind of starts climbing that following week. So it already basically went from 1065 touching as high as 20. So it was already up almost double, although it closed the day at 17, but it was already starting to see upward momentum prior to Roaring Kitty returning at all. So again, just my opinion. Think what you want on that. So just show me another company though, right? To get back to the point that can create shares this quickly, sell them this quickly into the open market, average of 2074, and then an average of 2849. For basically in between is right about where we are now. Show me another company that can hold up that well, selling so many shares into the open market. And what they do is to be seen. That is the reality of it. But just if you've been in it this long, like, and again, I can't tell you what to do, but if you've been in it this long and you rode this whole thing out, how can you be unhappy with just going sideways, even if it's till like let's say crazy, right? This time next year, but then this time next year they announce a major acquisition at a valuation that's half whatever they acquire the valuation is now of said company, whatever it may be, right? So the $4 billion in cash sits around accruing 5.25% interest, which is the current American national rate. Is absolutely correct. Earns 17 million per month, and that's 200 million per year. So he's in euros because he's in the UK, but you get the idea here. Where if the savings rate is 5.25%, they are earning roughly $200 million per year. That's roughly 50 million per quarter, and he breaks it down as roughly 17 million per month. GameStop's long-term debt remains limited to one low-interest unsecured term loan, especially with the French government's response to COVID-19, and that's 14.9 million. So that's literally nothing. And he keeps comparing to Best Buy. Best Buy, I think that's the best comparison to GameStop, I would say. Although it's obviously not the exact same business, but just worthy of comparing, I would say. Like even on over here, I was comparing some numbers a while back. I left it on here. See, I had Best Buy's yearly results at that time, and then I also had Walmart. So Best Buy up here, then this is Walmart. So I had to break down Walmart. That should actually be there. But really, what I was trying to look for is like what SG&A was as a percentage of sales for each of those, and then in comparison to GameStop's SG&A, right? So looking at Best Buy here, SG&A roughly 18.1%, whereas Walmart was roughly, for some reason they didn't have it, so I had to do it myself, roughly 20.21%. So I was hoping GameStop could get more down in the 18 to 20 range. So some of theirs previously were a little closer to 21. Best Buy was a little bit lower previous years. It's kind of crept up a little bit. So really see it in the high teens would be really, really encouraging for GameStop, but I don't think they're quite there yet. They're definitely going to have to scale up operations and just profitability and just be further down the line to kind of see numbers like that. But that's something I'd like to see them get to over the next several years. Will it happen? I don't know. It's just something I would like to see. So we'll have to see if it happens. CEO and chairman Ryan Cohen, you know about him and not taking compensation. Talks about all the directly registered shareholders, 200,000 shareholders. Some people might have more than one computer share account. I know I have a couple accounts, so that is worth noting. But there still has never been a situation where so many shares are directly registered by individual shareholders just to truly have ownership in their name. The business, a GameStop Pro membership, pays for itself. Your regular customer offering points, savings up to 15%. So recently it was up to 15% off PSA cards, which, by the way, reminds me, perfect segue. Just got my PSA 9 Justin Herbert card. I think after everything, this was only like 22 bucks or something, like after like the discount and my $5 coupon. Although I also bought a Candy Con controller still in transit. That might have played with the coupon, right? But point being, this was a pretty cheap card. I thought it was a pretty good deal. Just slowly but surely add to the collection. And if you aren't aware, GameStop Pro members do get $5 off every month. $5 off an order every single month. So there's 12 months, so you can get $60 off. So if you shop GameStop once per month, you save that. So I've been pretty much buying cards, right? Got Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud. Maybe not the best for you, right? But just quick to show you. Justin Jefferson. And then I had this Aaron Judge one from a while back, not from GameStop. See, I bought this in 2020. Damn, crazy. I've had this over 4 years now. That's crazy. But damn, yeah, I think this was when he was a rookie too. He was just popping up. I'm like, oh, he's probably gonna be big. But I was trading them around a little over time, and I have one currency trading card, Series One. I kept the boxes and everything, and then I have Series Two. So I think I gotta pick up a Series Three next month, right? Like I've just been doing one per series. Like I think they're cool and all. It's not like I'm not drawing to like get crypto. And I'm not like I like sports, so that's why the sports cards appeal to me. But those like I'm gonna dabble in them a little bit. I think they're cool, but I'm not gonna go buying like a ton, honestly. But when I do, I will unpack them on stream because why not? So CandyCon, GameStop brand, you guys know about that. GameStop sells own branded products such as keyboards, mice, headsets, along with products and other brands they own, such as Atrix, Geeknet, and more. I would really love to see them lean into this even more. Just keep selling products in the GameStop name. Do more with private label brands. Expand CandyCon even further to Xbox and PlayStation. Will that happen? I don't know. That's going to be tough, to be honest with you, just with the nature of how it works in terms of Xbox and PlayStation creating the controllers themselves. And I mean, they were able to do it with Switch, though, so I don't think it's impossible. But I feel like Switch is more the entry point in terms of creating controllers. So we'll have to see if they do that. But I want to see them do more, right? Like create more private label brands, whether it's headsets, computer hardware, maybe like that 2 terabyte drive they came out with a while back. Sell more products like that. And in case you missed it with CandyCon, they are starting to do a little bit more, but they got to do more than this, right? In the long run. And I understand it takes time, but the sooner the better. Let's be honest. That Transformer pack, like they came up with 4 different faceplates or sorry, combo packs. So basically, you can make a Transformer remote. So if the kid is really into Transformers, obviously this would be very appealing to them. And this is just launching next month. And then coming in September is this Epic Mickey game on the Switch that is also going to be released with a faceplate. And so pretty much you'll be able to get a full bundle. It'll be the faceplate, the underlying CandyCon controller, and then the game itself all in one bundle here. So I do like that they include specifically what's in the bundle. And as you can see, 60 plus 35, that is 95, plus another 16.99, so that's 95 plus 15, which makes 110, plus the 2. So it's about $112 value for only 94. So you save about 12 bucks there. And if you're going to play this game on the Switch anyway, you might think, all right, I'm going to get another controller, right? Again, it's small but in the right direction, but I want to see them do more, right? Do this with more games that are coming out on the Switch and really try and get it to PlayStation and Xbox and partner with more names. And then even really beyond CandyCon, I want to see them come out with several different private label brands and then really market those aggressively. So when they are spending on marketing, it's for their own in-house products, and they generally speaking make higher margin on those. So just some of what I kind of want to see moving forward, and that's also something I touched on in the video I posted recently, which reminds me, I think that would be worthy of adding to my highlights, because for me the highlights are like just my most in-depth posts, right? Like video content, I would say kind of counts as in-depth. And I wonder if X is pushing video content more on the algo, because I know Elon had talked about that a while back, because this did pretty well. Like I said, better than I thought. Um, but yeah, also on Twitter, more people are scrolling in comparison to like YouTube, like you're gonna go watch a video type of thing. So big man, good to catch you live finally. Ryan, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Look at Ryan Cohen testing the algos with his tweets. Slap my ass off. Yeah, honestly, Ryan, I think that's what it is, right? That I did want to touch on that. I don't know what this guy's doing. He just keeps tweeting about Trump. I don't know, man. Oh, see. Oh, I didn't even see this one, but he said Trump 2024, Trump 2024. I think Greg said, "Hey Ryan," and I said, "Hey Greg and Ryan." Hey, Eileen copied my tweet. I said the same thing. She might have been first. I don't know. Not a very difficult thought to have, but are you human or AI? Is Greg a bot? Grok says I'm a bot. Interesting. Greg. Greg. But yeah, I'm trying to think of a witty response, but I don't have one right now, so we'll hold off on that. But GameStop has partnerships with multiple large companies such as Nintendo and has exclusive deals on many products and services. It also has partnerships with smaller companies revolving around Web3, crypto, etc. So while I get they have these partnerships, I would really love to see them lean into them more. So obviously they're doing that a little bit here with the partnership with Disney, obviously because Mickey, and then to some effect Nintendo because of the Switch. But I want to see them lean into those even more. GameStop now offers to buy and sell PSA trading collectible trading cards as part of their trading program, including Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, and more. GameStop now sells Cardsmith's currency trading cards, offering collectors a chance to win Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and the packs. So as I was talking about, this is Series 3. I do have to pick one up sooner than later. And going back to the PSA cards really quick, it seems like they're turning over pretty well on the GameStop website. Obviously, I can't say for sure, just because a listing gets taken down doesn't guarantee that it's sold, but you would think more likely than not it did, and then the listing only gets added once somebody sells them the car or the card, or they're able to acquire it in some way. But I really feel like the PSA cards, the more and more I think about it, could hopefully, right? Maybe this is maybe being a little more hopeful than factual, right? And we won't know until we see the earnings report because Q2 is the first earnings where they've been selling PSA cards, right? So really the Q2 earnings report is going to be very interesting because we're going to see the share issuances that took place. We're going to see the cash on the balance sheet. We're also going to see the effects and if it's highlighted in any specific way of PSA cards being sold. I would really like to see it as its own category, like hardware, software, collectibles, PSA cards, but probably PSA cards is going to be just a subcategory of collectibles, and we'll only get the three major categories. But having said that, if it could help revenue hold up and just be flat year over year, I would be very happy with that because I do believe that would mean net income would be higher than before as they continue to cut costs and just focus on higher margin items. So obviously, we'll have to see with that. But if you take Q1 as a sign, it seems, given the $356 million decline in revenue, say roughly 25%, 20, 25, it is very fair to assume that Q2 is going to be lower year over year, right? And just, I would say consumer spending on just things they don't need, right? Discretionary spending it's probably come down a little bit year over year from 2023 to 2024. So that's partly a factor in this, but also, as they close some stores, that's definitely a small impact here as well. But really, to me, they got to fully stabilize the revenue at this point and then just keep riding out the little bit of profit they're making, the interest they're accruing on their 4 billion cash until they ultimately make that big move in some shape or form. And I really like the idea of game studio, but I don't know the logistics behind that. If they create their own, partner with someone else and create their own. Like, I just think you have so many people like myself that would go out and try the game studio and the games that are launched on it that maybe it's worth exploring, right? But I don't work for GameStop. I don't know. It's so maybe it is something being talked about in the background, right? Like, wouldn't anybody? I feel like anyone who holds GameStop stock would pay a gazillion dollars to be a fly on the wall during the annual shareholders meeting or like any board meeting where they just talk about like the plans, future of the company. But obviously, then the information would get out, and then also, wow, if you had a gazillion dollars, why would you buy that when you could just buy stock in GameStop or something else that you like, right? So just more food for thought there. And then also have some miscellaneous thoughts I had. I think that was from Sunday that I'll get to in a few minutes. So the board, Ryan Cohen and Larry, you guys know about them. And then personal is a little bit about Aaron. So he's a full-time martial arts instructor and business owner with an IT background in the UK. So over 200 students. It's probably crazy to most Americans. Definitely British people that I'm so into GameStop. I first got involved during the squeeze in 2021, just trying to make some money, which I did. However, as I learned more, visited the store, saw the changes to the web platform and company over time, my love started to grow. As a neurodiverse ADHD obsessive, once I get into something, I really get into it. A lot of people won't understand this, and that's fine. For example, I've been doing martial arts since I was a kid, and now it's my life and career. Most people quit things like karate after a few years at most. So, Aaron, if you're watching this, I definitely admire that a lot about you because sticking to something is difficult. And in this world now, everything's very fast, very quick. So I feel like a lot of people don't stick to things. So to stick with something and really become an expert in it, I think is a great thing to do. So I'm happy for you. Your own business. That's really awesome. So I regularly travel to the U.S. for personal and business reasons, meaning I get to geek out at GameStop for more than other Brits world, enjoying time on both East and West Coast. My faith in the board is huge. Ryan loves the meme, but takes work very seriously and sold Chewy for billions. Larry communicates regularly with his followers about business, and to me, they're both very special people. I would agree. They both have their own styles. Ryan's very quiet, just kind of posts a meme here and there. But he kind of, I would say, takes the Roaring Kitty approach where it's like perceived as like, oh yeah, he's just this silly guy, right? But he actually definitely knows what he's talking about, what he's doing. Whereas Larry is just speaking generally about business, and obviously they're in a bit of different situations because Larry's just a board member for GameStop and running Volition Capital, investing in different things, whereas Ryan Cohen's really just focused on GameStop. Companies' filings are constantly referring to investments, mergers, acquisitions. They know and understand the retail segment is struggling, not just gaming, but in every sector. Their online web and app improvements have been great so far. A few mistakes have been made, such as NFT Marketplace, but that's to be expected along the way. Couldn't agree more. And I still believe the technology implemented in that will be used in the future. These are all paths the company are looking into increase revenues and profits, along with cost cutting they've been doing recently. I own pretty much every GameStop branded product and piece of apparel going. I have a CandyCon controller and regularly buy PSA Pokemon cards from them now too, along with the currency cards and of course Sonic the Hedgehog socks. And then yeah, I love this picture, the goofy face, just flexing the GameStop. But yeah, shout out to Aaron. If you guys don't already, be sure to follow him. And I feel like this article kind of sums up what's going on right now pretty well. So I'll leave it at that. And then, quick side note, because I just want to always share good information. My friend told me about this, forexfactory.com. If you want to just know like all the latest news, like this is very not appealing to just look at like at its face value, but just to see like what's coming on the calendar, right? Like advanced GDP, unemployment claims, M3 money supply, natural gas storage levels, right? If you could just kind of look at like what's going on this week, right? Like, and then you go to obviously nothing the weekend on Monday. Okay, on Monday we can look ahead to the unemployment rate, right? So, well, that's for Japan, but point being, it's good. Retail sales, right? That might be worth looking at. Oh, again, gotta look at the place, but consumer confidence that might be looking at worth looking at, right? And again, it depends what you care about, right? But I just thought it was a good little website to share with you guys. And got a few miscellaneous things there, but I quickly want to touch on my thoughts from the other day. So, one, no dates. That's been commonly on my mind since, oh, on this day, T plus 35. On that day, we're going to have this. On this day, that's going to happen. No dates. No dates. And then I mentioned the new CandyCon, which we already talked about a little bit. Step in the right direction, but I want to see more with CandyCon and other private label brands created. PSA trading cards, will we see this as a new category of revenue? Will fall under collectibles? Probably under collectibles, unfortunately. How much will impact revenue? Enough to make revenue flat year over year or still down a little? I think probably still down a little, but I'm hopeful it can make it close to break even. Can the company turn an operational profit? They definitely should be profitable from interest income, but for operationally, can they get to break even or positive? So I've touched on that a little bit. Really the interest income is the only thing that's making them officially net profitable right now. Operationally, they're just slightly negative, but they get enough interest income where they're fully profitable. So if you look at like the Q4 earnings for GameStop, over here. So you look at 2023. Doo-doo-doo. So this is for the 14 weeks. Let's look at the 53 weeks. So for the full year, right? Their gross profit was just under 1,300 for the year, but then their operating loss was 34.5 million. So they still their net of selling merchandise, right, and just operating the business was negative 34.5 for the full year 2023. However, they were able to earn 49.5 million on interest income from money market accounts, which is a cash equivalent, or short dated treasury bills, taking advantage of the high interest rates throughout 2023 into 2024. So with that, and then after accounting for income tax expense, they were able to net $6.7 million. So operationally, they were technically negative, but the interest income brings them to positive. So really what I want to see is let's get this to at least even, right? Like make operating loss zero or -1 or +1, right? Like pretty much exactly break even. Meanwhile, interest income is going to about quadruple, because if you think about it, they went from roughly, just using simple numbers, 1 billion in cash to 4 billion in cash. They're about 4xing the amount of cash on hand. So theoretically, interest income should be about 4 times as much. However, it's worth noting that interest cuts are on the horizon, or so it seems. So it's being told by the Fed that, hey, interest rates are coming. Interest rate cuts are coming sooner than later. And if you check the CME Fed Watch tool, by the way, next meeting is about 1 week away. It seems very likely the Fed won't cut rates during that meeting. But when you look down the line here, the current funds rate is 525 to 550. It doesn't even have an option where they don't cut it, right? So take that for how you will, but it just shows, as we move on down the line, it seems more and more likely that the interest rates are cut over time. Will it happen? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I think we're going to get some interest rate cuts. How many? I don't know. And I'm not the Fed, so I couldn't tell you. I don't think anybody could, but I think it seems likely that we're going to get a couple. So it is worth noting that when you look at this number and you multiply it by 4, you can't exactly do that, because if interest rates get cut, then money market funds interest paid goes down. Short dated treasury bills, the interest paid on those goes down a little bit, right? So even if that does happen, as long as they're breaking even operationally, then they'll be able to turn at least 150 million in net profit, right? Even if there's rate cuts consistently over the next several months, I think they're going to make at least 100 to 150 million in interest income, right? And then also it compounds. Any interest income they earn over a 1 month period, they can just, that little bit of interest, they throw it back in and then they earn interest on that, right? So that's also worth noting. But that's what I mean by, technically they're not operationally profitable yet, but net profitable they are. And that's really because of the interest income. So if they can just improve a little bit more, cut SG&A down a little bit more, cut down cost of sales a little bit more relative to the revenue, you're operationally break even, slightly operationally profitable, and then you have a good chunk of interest income coming in. So we'll see though what happens with the Fed. And while I keep saying they'll probably make a move once valuations fall, we have some kind of market crash scenario. That's not necessarily the case. If a great offer comes across GameStop's desk that they can't refuse, an acquisition could take place, right? But how many acquisitions do you really hear about going on right now at these very large valuations? Just across the board, any industry you look at, valuations I would say are relatively high. So with that, you do have to keep in mind that they're not really going to acquire something if it's considered overpriced, right? Because also just looking at how Ryan Cohen goes about things, and a while back it was speculated, is he going to buy Bitcoin? But then the counter argument was, I don't think so. He's been very safe this whole time in just having treasuries and money market accounts. So why would he pivot and buy Bitcoin? That seems like such an aggressive change in action, right? So worth noting. How did you suggest to the New Jersey beaches after seeing Croatia? LOL. Yeah, Ryan, I didn't. I haven't gone back to the New Jersey beaches because they're trash. The Jersey Shore is trash, bro. It's crazy. But I think when I go back, I'm going to be like, oh my God, what the heck is this? How did I ever swim in this, right? This is crazy. But yeah, no, the Croatian beaches, amazing. Amazing. The water's so clear. It's crazy. Sergio, what's up? Thanks for being here. How do you T plus 35 tattoo after Moas, boys? Yeah, right. T plus 35, T plus 35, T plus 35. That should be the thing. If you're that confident, get it tattooed on you, and then you're exempt from a ban on Super Stonk. Canada cutting rates early out here. Our currency's doomed. Yeah, Ryan, I did see that. Their second cut, I believe that was today. So that's also worth noting. The other, like the G7 as they call it, going to start cutting in the near future. I don't know. I mean, I was going to say Japan, but their situation is a whole unique situation with their currency and their stock market. But that's a conversation for a different day. But a few different things. One, glitches. Like I just saw some. How does this happen sometimes, right? I guess it's just a glitch, but it's also just like it just when I see something, I'm like, it's really just numbers on a screen with the stock market, right? Because why did this happen? I don't know. I just checked this at 4:59. I was like, what's going on here? Then a couple things one, this is from a screenshot from 2021, and I forgot that Ryan Cohen used to do this. Ryan Cohen showing up at GameStop stores unannounced, in disguise, to find ways to improve the company. bullish as fuck. Ryan Cohen pulls undercover boss on GameStop stores, wants to invest in physical locations. So this was from like when he first took over, became chairman of the board, wasn't even CEO at that time. This was, I think, about 3 years ago, because it came up on my Snapchat actually, like 3 years ago today, or this month, 3 years ago. So this was about 3 years ago. So he's been, figuring it out little by little since then. And that's a cool little thing he did a while back that I forgot about. So I thought I'd share. Then last thing in GameStop, they changed their logo to red. I like that they're putting out on the background there that they're doing the PSA cards. I think they just got to keep getting the word out that that's something they're doing right now. But then their logo's changed to red. A lot of people are speculating what that means. I don't know. I mean, people are saying the black logo was like the black flag signaling like we're coming. If you look up like a Wikipedia what a pirate black flag means versus a red flag is like blood will be shed. There's no prisoners, like no mercy. So people are saying that's what it is. I don't know. People are saying Nintendo. People are saying it's because Ryan Cohen's MAGA, right? It's all these different theories being thrown around out there. But I think of it like this: unless you hear something from GameStop, just take it with a grain of salt. You don't truly know, number one. And number two, let the dust settle. There's so many times when something happens, so many people are so quick to react and have their initial thoughts, but then you let the dust settle, you kind of like look at the big picture, like, oh, it's probably just this, or it's that. Whereas I thought it was all this, right? So I think just personally don't think too much of it. But that's just me, right? That's just me. So make your own decisions at the end of the day. But another one, Sequana, or I never know how to say this, Susquehanna, Susquehanna, Susquehanna. That's probably how you say Susquehanna. Find a laughable 10K for failing to account for short call options when reporting their net long position. What's the bet that came out on top in this transaction? I would. Monetary fine of 7,500 and amount and disgorgement amount of 2,500 E370. So just over 10,000. But Trey brings up a great point right here. How much did they make on that trade? If they made more than 10,000 in that trade, it's just like this is why these fines as a slap on the wrist is laughable as you described it, because to these businesses, right? I can't say for sure. I'm just speculating, personal opinion. It's just a cost of doing business. You understand that, hey, whatever, we might get fined, but it's just a cost of doing business as long as we make money on the trade, right? So that's just worth noting there. But QQQ started pulling back a lot. As another quick side note here. Could it pull down more? Is it just going to be a situation like this where we bounce back within a month and just keep roaring upward? I don't know. I feel like we need some kind of elongated correction. It just seems like things have been too good for too long and just inflating in terms of price, right? And that's the thing too. With while everyone talks about inflation in goods and services, and like even I just did my dry cleaning for my suit, for my wedding suit that I wore to Croatia, and I brought it back. I dry cleaned it. 10 $20 for a jacket and pants. Is that I haven't dry cleaned anything in a long time? Is that just how it has been for a while? I don't know. To me, that seems way more than I remember, honestly. But I can't say for sure. Like I said, it's been a while. But where I'm going with this is everything is inflating. It's not just goods and services; it's assets as well. The S&P is just like in inflation mode, and it's also when you know everything's inflating, what do? You buy assets, and also perfect segue here. That's why I believe in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and Bitcoin more than Ethereum personally. But I'm starting to warm up to the idea of Ethereum more and more. And quick side note about Bitcoin, I honestly think oh, it's very volatile. How can people be flocking to that? And I was saying to my friend, and I was like, I think people are going to it because it's a store of value. He's like, but historically, Bitcoin has been extremely volatile. So how could you see it as a store of value? But my take on it is, as there's more and more people who just continue to accumulate Bitcoin, and just hodl. Of course, there's always going to be traders, right? Don't get me wrong. But as more and more people accumulate Bitcoin and just hodl, ETFs accumulate more and more Bitcoin. What starts to happen is more and more of the supply is locked up, so not as much of the supply is trading. So theoretically, volatility should kind of slow down over time, right? Like if I look at it on a long-term basis, I see it as like a situation where let's do let's zoom out like this. Okay. So I see it as a situation where we go up, right? If we zoom out here, I'll probably never be able to fix this. I see it as like we go up to 150 this time, maybe even like 180, right? During this bull cycle throughout, excuse me, 2024 to 2025. I could be completely wrong, by the way, and to be perfectly clear, whether or not that happens, I'm fine with holding my crypto in the long term. So just food for thought here. But let's say that happens and then it dips down and its low point is, let's say, 80, right? Like down here. And then next bull cycle, next halving cycle, whatever you want to call it, it runs way up to like 400, 500,000. But then that time it only dips to the low of 300,000. But point being, as it's going up, the volatility kind of slowly goes down because each bull run, there's more people that just buy and hodl for having it on a long-term basis and using it as a store of value. And again, that's how I look at it because to me, nobody can go into the market and just create more Bitcoin. It's 100% based on an algorithm and no central bank can control it and just print, print, print. And all governments around the world just print, print, print their currency, right? And I just think it's the simplest way to put it is it really is digital gold. Obviously, it's more complex than that. It's not that straightforward, but even gold can theoretically be manipulated, right? With spot pricing. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But I'm warming up to Ethereum more and more. And really, the thing I want to wrap my head around, I was watching some videos last night, is the supply. It's just tough to understand that it's fluctuating, but it's also based on the demand for the network. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around all that. And also an interesting point that my friend made that I was discussing this with over the weekend, and he was like, "How can you say Bitcoin's a safe haven asset? Historically, it's been so volatile, and when things are uncertain, people pull out of it." I'm like, "Well, interest rates are high, and it's still going up despite that, right?" That was a bit of my counter argument, but he also brought up another good point. I'm paraphrasing the whole thing. We're bouncing around a lot of different ideas, but when you look at the peak of Ethereum, it was November 2021. Look at Bitcoin's peak; it was right here. So interestingly, Bitcoin's newest all-time high, Ethereum didn't get to its all-time high. That's the first time that's happened. Obviously, I would say this cycle is still in effect. It's kind of been stagnant for the past several months, right, since peaking in about March of this year. So I feel like Ethereum, if the cycle continues, right, it's also going to hit a new all-time high during this time period, right? When I say this period, like late 2024 into 2025, while Bitcoin has already hit its all-time high, which I believe it was around that same time in March. See, right here. And I don't know why it has market cap right now, but hit a more high all-time high market cap of 1.5 billion. And Ethereum's market cap right now is 500 billion. Do we ever see a day where Ethereum catches Bitcoin? I don't know. As of now, I don't think so, but I will say I definitely understand with Ethereum. It's built more for scaling and just doing things on top of it and just it's built to scale in its simplest form. Whereas Bitcoin, it's really built to just be a store of value. So different, definitely very different. And then Solana, right? I don't even know if they have that on here yet. Let's see. Oh, okay. Proof of history. I still got to wrap my head around that. I'm still trying to finalize. Like I finally understand Bitcoin very, very well to the point I feel really good about it. Ethereum, I feel really good about it, but I just feel like there's a little bit more I got to know before I feel great. But then Solana, I'm like, I don't know anything about this thing. I know it's proof of history. I watch a basic video, but still pretty far behind in terms of my knowledge learning about this. But after one day of trading, the Ethereum ETF saw a billion in shares traded, $1 billion worth of shares traded, whereas the Bitcoin ETF the first day saw 4.6 billion. I feel like at that time it was a little more hyped up. It was the first cryptocurrency spot ETF, whereas then Ethereum is second. And now I wonder, will we see Solana next? Will we see multiple other currencies? Maybe just Solana and that's it. Maybe this is it. I don't know. But what's worth noting that this number does not mean much on a long-term basis and really just highlights initial interest. And one slightly concerning thing though is that when you look at all the Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs, single entity risk, right? This article really highlights it well, if I remember correctly. Single entity risk questioned as Coinbase dominates Ethereum and Bitcoin Ethereum reserve storage. So almost all of these ETFs, right, with the exception of one Ethereum one, and I think it's like two Bitcoin ones, all use Coinbase to custody the cryptocurrency that's held in the underlying ETF. So if I buy $100 of Bitcoin ETF, iShares ETF, then what happens is that ETF has an account with Coinbase. They put that $100, they take their like 0.5% fee or whatever it is. So they take $99.50 in cash, put it into their Coinbase account, and then buy Bitcoin with it. So it's Bitcoin inflows. But then when, let's say I sell the Bitcoin, for it goes up in value, I sell it for 150, say it goes up 50%. They sell it out of the account, take the cash, send it to me. Obviously, it's much more complex than that, but that's the very simple version. So if there's a lot of outflows, that means the crypto underlying is being sold. A lot of inflows, a lot of money is being put in and purchased. So who benefits from this? Coinbase, by being the like reserve storage. But what's concerning is, what if Coinbase has some kind of issue, and they're the only one, and then, or let's say it's a really bizarre scenario, right? It goes to be an FTX situation. I don't think it will, given its scale and it's a public company, and the fact that all these major institutions have chosen to work with them, although many major institutions chose to work with um, FTX before it went under, right? So that's worth noting. But it is very high risk that Coinbase is the only one really holding most of it, right? To dominate. They're kind of bottlenecking the industry, so to speak. So Coinbase posted X to clarify its position regarding spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. The company mentioned that it holds assets for 10 out of 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs and 8 out of 9 ETFs. Founder points to a former strategic advisor at Vanek questioned whether it was an acceptable risk to store all these assets with one firm. So Coinbase, 10 of 11 Bitcoin ETFs, 8 of 9 Ethereum ones. And you know who the only one that uses Gemini? And that's the only other one for both of us. Vanek. So they do bring up a great point. See, Gemini is proud to be the custodian of Vanek Spot Ethereum ETP. So Vanek took an early lead on the mission to bring spot ETFs, spot Bitcoin ETPs, exchange traded products, to the market, and now the investment management firm is doing the same with spot Ethereum exchange traded products. Today, Gemini is proud to announce that we will operate as the custodian for Vanek's highly anticipated spot Ether exchange traded product and Vanek Ethereum ETF, ETHV. Just months after joining forces with Vanek for a spot Bitcoin exchange traded product. So Gemini is the only other platform, and they just use Vanek. All the other ones that have created, like BlackRock, Grayscale, Bitwise, they all use Coinbase. So I personally find that concerning. I don't know about you guys, because it's like they're not putting in cold storage. They're using one centralized platform, right? Bitcoin is on Coinbase is centralized essentially. So I do find that to be concerning for the industry as a whole, as more and more money flows into ETFs. I personally believe whether you want to own Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, any other coin, the best way to do it is cold storage. You want to use cold storage because cold storage, it's only your keys. Like I have one. I'll show you guys real quick. This is the one I use. EliPal Titan Mini. And basically, this device has never been connected to the internet, and I'm able to generate, a password, which is a bunch of different phrases, a bunch of different words, and then as long as I never put that on the internet somewhere, nobody could ever access that or guess it. Only I really ultimately want to memorize it, but I just only have it handwritten down. So unless you find the exact piece of paper where I have it written, that's the only way you could theoretically get in. Whereas if I lose this device, right, it doesn't matter. If I memorize the passphrase, ultimately I can access my cryptocurrency anywhere in the world at any time. But then obviously it's connected to a hot wallet and then it's live. But that's why they say just buy and hodl. You just buy and hodl, right? So I've got some more Ethereum personally, but I'm noticing that a lot of vendors I do transactions with only accept Bitcoin and not Ethereum. Ryan, yeah, it's all about knowing thyself. But that is interesting to me because I would think it would be the other way around, whereas Ethereum fees are significantly lower, and it's also my friend. We were having the conversation between Bitcoin and Ethereum. He also believes in Ethereum more. I know quite a few people do, and I definitely respect it. But he was saying too, like they have much lower fees. So it is weird to hear. Like you would think Ethereum would be more so for that, whereas Bitcoin, I feel like you're not really using it to buy stuff. It's more just for store of value. That's how I look at it. And then you do have solutions like the Lightning Network to move it place to place when necessary. However, I feel like generally speaking, like Ethereum is going to be transacted with more than Bitcoin, whereas Bitcoin's more buy and hold. And of course, everyone has their own approach. But Jay, what's up? What's up? Thanks for being here, brother. Hope you're doing well. Just gonna check something really quick. Get situated. Okay. All right. Cool. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me how Coinbase is just controlling it all. Coinbase is just controlling it all. That is really a bizarre scenario, right? I haven't scrolled through Super Stonk yet, so I thought that might be a fun thing to do next. But I just find this like very underrated and not talked about enough. That Coinbase is really they're bottlenecking the industry. They have a stronghold on it. If something happens to Coinbase, excuse me, in any shape or form, whether it be a hack, whether it be a FTX situation, which is just a bizarre scenario, right, for sake of argument, or just any kind of security issue, any difficulty accessing funds, anything like that, to me could cause major issues for ETFs. So I do find that concerning, but if you own an ETF and you're like, oh my God, should I be concerned? I would think not, because you imagine a scenario, right, where one of these major firms, Vinek, like they manage tons of capital. They have a situation where all their crypto, well, they're on a Gemini, right? So theoretically, in that example, they'd be okay. But let's say BlackRock, it happens to, right? You think BlackRock's, I personally think, like, if BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, all the underlying Bitcoin disappeared, I think they would refund all of their ETF customers. Maybe I'm too hopeful, but I feel like they would to maintain their image. Although, everything I'm saying arguable here. But point being, if you're a major financial firm and you have small amount of assets in a Bitcoin ETF that you offer, and then somehow Coinbase goes bankrupt and actually have the coins, it gets hacked, whatever the case, they can theoretically easily cover it, right? They should be able to at least cover it. So with that, I feel like you're okay if you have an ETF, but I think the best way to hold it is to have it in cold storage, because you would think, like, with so much capital and trying to just do what right by their customers, not always the case, that they would refund them, like, if necessary, right? So, and that's just, again, in a bizarre scenario, but still, why can't more of them use Gemini, and then a few of them use Kraken, and a few of them build their own platform up, right, to custody the underlying coins? And I wonder if that's something that will happen down the line, right? Because this stuff is relatively new in terms of like Bitcoin and Ethereum becoming exchange traded products. But just the dominance in Coinbase, like I find that really concerning. So, Sharon, Sergio, Jay, get the whole gang in the chat. Love to see it. So, this person says GameStop might have just raised a bloody flag because their logo is red. Bloody black flag. I don't know why people get the pirate idea, but sure, let's go with it, right? Again, I take it with a grain of salt, but it's fun. It's fun to read. Why not speculate on it? Prior to the advent and popularization of the Jolly Roger we know today, Western pirates flew a simple black flag, initially devoted to design. Black flag was part of a flag signal combination together with its plain red flag. After closing in on a target ship, the black flag would be raised, signaling that quarter will be given if the target crew surrendered their cargo and valuables without a fight, followed by warning shots if the enemy did not strike down their own flag to signal surrender. The red flag, or bloody flag as it's known, was raised, signaling the target's cargo and valuables will be taken by force, and that no quarter will be given if the enemy ship continued to refuse surrender. Pirate Captain Gene Thomas Weber would wait for the enemy to fire 3 or more cannon shots after raising the red flag before giving the order to attack with no quarter given. So it makes sense, right? It's an interesting theory, but where you have to zoom out and like just try and look at the big picture is like, at the end of the day, it's just colors, right? And they've always been black and red, so you can't think too deeply about it, but the theory makes sense. I'll say that. So, GameStop's Facebook feeling cute. Felt cute. Might delete later. That's clever. I like that. And oh yeah, did you guys see that guy Joe? This guy Toast. Apparently, someone posted his LinkedIn, and he is um this guy. The guy that did the interview with Ryan Cohn. He is the head of social media at GameStop, and apparently, as of a month ago. So I find that interesting. And what makes it a little more interesting is you see this guy, Rod Olsman, both of them started GMEDD.com. And then GMEDD.com basically suddenly transitioned, like we have our next play. And they started talking about Playboy, which I don't know what happened to that. They started, all of a sudden they started talking about it, right? Palmerlucky, Oh, okay. Founder of Oculus announced exclusive retail partnership with GameStop, so its new handheld console, the Mod Retro. Oh, I actually didn't even see this. Or I don't recall this. Huh. Interesting. But see, obviously start coming back, but where are the Playboy tweets, right? Because apparently they're saying, oh, Playboy is like the next big play, the next like undervalued play, right? So they got a little hate for that, but I don't know how much the individual was involved in it, right? This guy Joe. So interesting, but I also think Ryan Cohen and management wouldn't just hire him for no reason, right? So I think if he was hired, he's suitable to fit the job, right? And obviously he's familiar with social media and GameStop investors, so that's worth noting. But I don't know. I found it to be an interesting development, and we'll see if we hear anything more on that. So, and see, here's the problem when I always screw up my chart. How do you? All right, we're just going to auto finance because I'm getting annoyed. That's why I always hesitate to move this chart because I always forget to put it back. So let's see, just it's always good, guys. Even if you're just investing in GameStop, keep an eye on other stuff going on. Chipotle just had a good earnings quarter. I'm just curious. Splurge on bigger proportions. Yeah, it's like the big thing people were talking about. Remember the people recording like, you gotta add more meat, bro. I gotta get my gains. Like, but I'm just curious. Transactions rose 8.7%. 11% increase in comparable sales have surpassed the average estimate of analysts. See, 11% year over year for something that's been existing as long as Chipotle is pretty bullish, not going to lie. It just shows how loyal their customers are. Chipotle found that 10 to 50% of its restaurants were getting a disproportionate number of comments about its portion sizes. Hard Talks in an interview, the company is doubling down on training the stores to ensure workers serve the right amount of food, including the required two generous scoops of rice and 4 ounces of meat, meaning the standards will cost the company an extra million. But hey, you gotta listen to your customers, right? That's always important. So, but Playboy, look what they did. Not very good, unfortunately. I don't know when they started talking about it exactly, but you can see all the charts. They're not loading, but just look at these number here. None of them look good. None of them look good as of late. Okay. But yeah, I think I'm probably gonna wrap it up around here. Just hit the chat one more time. Yeah, see, so just kind of declined. I mean, maybe it's fairly valued now. I don't know. I don't know anything about this stock to be honest. But I think they started talking about it in here somewhere or in here. I don't know, and then just declined. But it's tough to. I always say, right? The next GameStop's GME. The next GME is GameStop. So know thyself. Joe can't stand him, bro. You got all the credentials to work for GameStop too. Oh, yeah, Ryan. I mean, it would be a cool experience. Don't get me wrong. It would be a cool experience for sure. So, but yeah, no, I don't know. It's funny, cars. Yeah, I mean, he seems all right. Like, I don't know enough about him to really have like a formulated opinion. Like, that's kind of my take. But there were some rumors that like they kind of forced the interview on Ryan Cohen because it was odd. That's like the only time he's ever done an interview since being a part of GameStop. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it honestly. Ended up using Gmail as a launch pad to sell his picks. Exactly, cars. Exactly. That's what I was kind of just touching on there with Playboy. So and Rod too. They just kind of tried to do their own like, oh, follow me on this and that, right? But it's tough, right? When you're all into one thing and then you just suddenly switch, and then just also not to mention they basically left GameStop in dust. Oh yeah, like especially Rod. I know he started talking negatively on GameStop for the most part, and it's like maybe if you didn't do that, like you wouldn't be getting so much hate. Like you could not be as involved, but if you start like doing a 180, like obviously you're gonna get pushback. So typical grifter path. A little Ryan, it'd be like that. Badass. What's up? What's up? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I know, brother. You're joining right as I'm about to wrap it up here, but it's all good. I'll go a few more minutes. I'm just getting situated. But yeah, man, it's just so hard getting back in the groove. Like being away 2 weeks, I've never been away like that, where it's like it's just so relaxed all the time. I'm like, gotta work every day. Gotta be like Ryan Cohen. I gotta put in the work, right? But let's see. Let's go through Superstock a little more before we wrap it up. And then also, again, I just want to reiterate one more time that so many of the ETFs, besides literally Vanek, they're all using Coinbase, and I just find that so concerning. So, Dorito do himself in the building, yes, sir. So let's see. Y'all would love what happened last night at this comedy show. Last night I went to a comedy show theater with 1,000 attendees. The comedian had an interactive portion of the show where he asked for a volunteer from the audience. He asked if there were any women who could play corporate and direct. One woman held up her hand in the crowd and the comedian said, "What do you do for work that you feel like you can act corporate?" She replied, "Hedge fund." The comedian then was like, "Ah, well, maybe not you then." The whole crowd cheered his decision, and then he continued to rail on her in a playful way for being a hedge fund employee. He called out how she should stop destroying companies. There was a moment of realization in her face afterwards where she was visibly annoyed and realized the entire room of 1,000 people disapproved of her life choices. It was incredible. Interesting. Joe Parra. Never heard of him, but it's a funny story actually. And just like her reaction just shows like, oh, you actually do destroy companies, huh? But over 1.1 trillion, I saw this today, wiped out from the US stock market. I mean, we are finally pulling back. I mean, it's only really been a few days though, if you think about it. So a lot more can happen over the course of this month. But then also earnings are coming out right now. That's definitely a factor. You know, the Magnificent Seven not looking so magnificent right now. Ford had a terrible earnings. Their EPS was way below estimates. Earnings was below estimates, not as much as EPS, but worth noting. And I think also I didn't look at the details of the report, but probably them trending into electric vehicles is a factor because it's expensive. You know, Tesla is really the only one that I'm aware of that really has it operating like selling electric vehicles, a business that's operating well and significantly profitably. All other companies that are doing electric vehicles are taking losses on their electric vehicles with the hopes they could scale it up one day to ultimately make it a profit. And they're just doing it now to stay in touch with Tesla. Whereas like Ford, I think the average person that's driving a Ford probably doesn't really want an electric vehicle. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for everyone's. And I feel like that's probably what hurt their EPS if I had to take a guess without even looking at the report, right? So, yeah, and I don't own any Ford or care to own any Ford. I mean, stock's been really in the dumps like forever. It really hasn't done much, right? This was like, oh, they're getting into EVs hype period, right? But this was all the hype period, like when ChargePoint was running way up, Lucid was running way up, like all these different names, right? But you know, if you bought Ford in the crash, pretty much anything you bought in 2020 during the crash, like you'd be pretty well right now, and you'd have collected these dividends throughout. But yeah, really, Ford hasn't done much in a long time. They really never recovered from 2000, which is kind of crazy to think about. But that happens sometimes, right? So that's why picking individual stocks is really a tough game. That's the reality of it. Individual stocks are not for everyone. Sometimes people ask me, "Oh, what stock should I buy?" I'm like, honestly, probably just buy the S&P because if you're not going to read about it and know in depth what's going on with the company, then you probably want to just mutual fund it and just go with a huge basket of stocks. So, but again, it's about knowing yourself and your risk tolerance. And to me, even if you are just in ETFs, I really think owning a little bit of Bitcoin and Ethereum is worth it because if you have a portfolio, whatever the size, you put 1% into Bitcoin, 1% into Ethereum, or even 0.5% in each, it's such a small amount that if they go to zero one day, which I don't believe they will, or they even just don't go up, right? You don't notice it. Your portfolio still grows well on a long-term basis if it's in treasuries and S&P and just index funds, and basically just saying like if you just have a standard retirement account. But let's say you do 1% Ethereum, 1% Bitcoin, the rest in just regular retirement account, 401k type of stuff, right? Mutual funds, index funds. But Bitcoin and Ethereum go up massively over the next several decades, and they become a huge part of the financial system. They're widely known and accepted as financial assets. If that's the case, right now is still so relatively early, and they'll have scaled up so much where they become a big part of your portfolio and boost your portfolio in a massive way. So to me, that's why it's worth it in terms of risk and reward. And you could argue that about any high speculative play, right? Like, give you an example. Like, I put a little bit of Tesla stock in my mom's IRA years ago, right? It was like 2019, I think, when I bought a couple shares. And it split like twice since I got it. And I sold most of it like on the way up. I mean, I waited a while to start selling, but I just kept selling and selling the way up. And it's still one of the most massive positions in the account, right? Because it's just up thousands of percent. Like the best single thing I've ever done, right? Or maybe like 1,500, whatever it is. But point being, it was such a small risk. Like if Tesla went to zero, her portfolio would be totally fine. I wouldn't even think twice about it today. But since it scaled up so much, and I don't know why no charts are working on here. Let's go back to Trading View, see if it wants to work. But since Tesla went up so much, like it significantly changed her portfolio. So And I remember in here for years it had basically gone sideways and not much had happened, and then finally it broke out, and then you had the whole thinking of taking Tesla private at 420. But remember that was 2 splits ago when he said that, so that's worth noting. But yeah, it's quite the ride. Investing is quite the ride. There's no doubt about that. And I've said it a couple times, say it again. Those of you that don't know, I've been, I would say, in the market technically 8 years. I opened my brokerage account when I was 16 years old in 2016. But I did all the stupid stuff you could imagine, made all the silly mistakes you could imagine from 16 to the age of 20. So I really got all my silly mistakes out of the way, all things I look back at and think, how did I think that was a good idea or a good way to think, or just being naive, right? Because when you start something, you can't be the best right away, right? Like it takes time to learn. But I'm just thankful to have made all my silly decisions and poor decisions at an early on time before I had like a real paycheck coming in. Just really just using literally in the beginning like snow shoveling money, and then when I got a job at Marshalls, my little bit of money from there, I would put a little bit in stocks, right? Whatever I wasn't using to like try and get beer, obviously, like every other high school kid. Bro, can you please buy us some beer? Come on, like to a friend's brother or something like that. But just slowly put in, and I didn't do well in the beginning. I didn't do well, but I'm fortunate enough to have had those experiences where I made poor decisions, but it was such a small amount of money because I was just such a young individual. And my parents weren't like, "Oh, here, take all your savings and just go invest it if you think you know what you're doing." Like, no, like just what you earn, like start investing that, and then go from there. And then when you get to be a little bit older, and we start paying for college and all that, then you can kind of choose what you want to save and invest. And then I'm very thankful that that was the approach I took because otherwise, who knows? Maybe I would have put all my money in BitConnector at the time, right? Like those of you that know, BitConnect was like an OG like scam token, right? But looking here, this is the monthly chart for GameStop. Still a general breakout. You look at the weekly chart, still a general breakout. Yearly, still looks pretty good, right? When you zoom out, still looks pretty good. And after this elongated down period, it just feels like something's changed. And now with just so much more cash on the balance sheet, I have a really hard time seeing it going below $20 a share because again, they have roughly $9.62 per share in cash, roughly, right? We'll know for sure on the next earnings report, but. The 51 gang brought me here. Sergio, hey, 51 shares. You know what's up, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you popping in. What do you think about only owning a couple stocks but massive sizes like Ryan Cohen? Honestly, Ryan, I think if you really know what you're doing and you really, really follow those companies closely and believe in them the most, I think it's honestly a good approach because to me, like, or what I do, right, is like I have S&P in my 401k and I just accumulate S&P, S&P, S&P. So to me, really, that's my like diversity investing because it's just investing in markets as a whole on a long-term basis. Like, think money I'm literally not going to touch for 30 plus years, like literally 30 plus years. So I don't even worry about that. But then in terms of investing on my own, I don't buy mutual funds outside of retirement accounts because I look at it as like, okay, well, I want to pick exactly what I'm investing in, why I specifically believe in this. Not to say I'm totally opposed to the idea, but that's kind of my approach. Like, people think I'm crazy for investing in GameStop really well, but then they start, oh, well, it's gonna go bankrupt, or oh, gaming is dead, oh, nobody buys physical discs anymore. And then when they just say stuff like that, that's the reason? Okay, well, I know a huge list of reasons why I believe in this company, and I can explain to you why you're totally wrong, and I totally believe in it. So that keeps me bullish, right? Whereas, like, if I just was like, oh yeah, no, it's a good company. Oh no, it's gonna squeeze, and they'd be like, bro, how are you putting so much of your money? Like, then you can't put your money in that heavily with that thought process, right? Where you're like, no, I understand exactly the amount of cash. I understand exactly the situation they're in, where they're just breaking or even operationally, earning interest income, waiting to make the right acquisition. When you account for all that and think about it in all those different ways, then you know your own approach and you know why you invest heavy in something. So if you take that approach with a few different stocks, then I think that's the best way to go. Like another stock I own a pretty decent amount of, nowhere near close GameStop, is Palantir. I've been, kind of like I was saying before about how I accumulate GameStop, accumulate Bitcoin. I've accumulated Palantir, but I wish I accumulated a lot more when it was a lot lower because now it's gone up a lot. I started accumulating. I traded it back here, right? Like right before I traded my crazy GameStop call, they made me a crazy amount of money in the beginning. I've told that story before. Let's tell it a different day again. Don't want to overshare the same stories over and over. Um, but basically, I made money in Palantir calls here, and I put some that basically gave me the confidence to put money into a far out of the money GameStop call option on a weekly that just literally was right before Elon Musk tweeted GameStonk, and literally changed my life during that time period. Crazy. But Palantir had been running up a lot during there, and then it kind of fell off, and then really once it went down, I think it was around here, right? Like once it broke down, maybe in here I started buying, right? I think from here, no, probably more like 2022, I started picking up some shares like here and there, and then really I started picking up a lot more in here. And when I say a lot, relative to GameStop, none of it's a lot, right? But I really wasn't picking up as much in here as I should have. And this was such an attractive price point, right? Look at this extended period where it was basically below $10 for most of it. Or I guess you could say even just from here, like August 2022 all the way till May 2023. So this is such a like a 1 year period where this was just such a juicy buy, like from May to May, May 22 to May 23. Fast forward to May 24. Look where we're at. So again, but that's why dollar cost averaging is good, because I kind of bought the whole way down and I'm still buying a bit of the way up. But now it's kind of at the point where I'm like, can I really buy this though at this price point? Like it's getting up there, but also AI isn't going anywhere, and like I really do believe in Alex Karp and the management team there running things, and I feel like they've long been preparing for a world where AI becomes the norm and it's implemented, and really their AI solutions for are designed, right? They're tailored to specific businesses, and that business like gets an initial contract, they like it, and then they sign a big contract with Palantir. So with that, I think there's a lot more big contracts coming down the line because they have a lot of small initial contracts right now. And then also like their whole thing is basically using machine intelligence and then combining human intelligence. So like machine learning, and then humans will interact with it throughout and help it keep adjusting to get smarter and more specific to whatever solutions they're trying to create or calculate or whatever they're trying to do with artificial intelligence. It's a very, very simple explanation of it, but yeah, I do personally think owning like a big chunk of just a few major stocks is the way to go. But also understand that's highly risky because say Palantir goes bankrupt somehow or doesn't work out at all, and if it's a significant portion of a portfolio, like yeah, that hurts you very much in the long run, right? But that's why I also just do S&P 500 on the side. And again, that's just my personal approach. You gotta know thyself. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there for today. Appreciate you guys being here. Again, just rocking and rolling. I'm really going to start making videos again. If you're not already, follow me on X at TetraInvest. I post my videos on there. But also like when I'm streaming, right? I post my schedule at the start of each week. I try and post it on YouTube too. Just hit 1,800 on here as well, 2,000 on YouTube. I'm so thankful for you guys, for real. Thank you so much, every single one of you. Even if you only watch sometimes, I appreciate you so much. I get it. Everybody's busy. Everybody's putting out content these days. So if you give me any of your time, I'm greatly appreciative of that. So stay tuned though. More videos like this coming soon. I'm just keep just go in my yard, share some quick thoughts in my mind. Really gonna try and do at least one of these a week, because if you look back at my channel, right? The OGJs of Tetron. You just go to YouTube Studio, content, right? Like all my old, or just go to the channel. That's what I want to do. Okay, I just do GME stock thoughts, GME stock. And this one's just a goofy hype video. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. GME stock thoughts, GME stock thoughts. And wow, my girlfriend's old place. Yeah, crazy, crazy. It's just funny. I look back into it. I've recorded in the most random spots. See, in my car. This is literally on my lunch break. This is when I did Hot Ones. That was fun. This was in Silicon Valley. Wow, it feels like forever ago. Just some stream clips. I guess should really get back into that, right? The stream clips for people that can't catch the whole thing. Look at the layout I used to use, where I used to stream in the background. So a lot of just evolving over time and just improving. And yeah, see a lot of GME stock faults. I should do another golf one. You know, this was a fun time with my friends. Maybe I'll have to do that again. It's at my aunt's house, right? I've done videos everywhere. It's crazy. But yeah, I've done a lot of GameStop stock videos previously. It's GameStop stock talk, so I should probably do it again, right? Because that's how this channel all started. And something, I just got scared, but it was just a mosquito. But it is something I want to get back into, and I feel like I can improve the thumbnail a little bit here, so that always helps. And yeah, Videos are good too. Got a balance between the videos and the streams. It's crazy. Altogether, 424 videos. I think that also includes the live streams, which is also crazy. How long have I been live streaming? A first ever live stream. Got a little Christmas theme going on. Let's see. This was probably horrible. Yeah, I remember I wrote out like a whole thing on the Q3, and I was basically just reading it off the screen. So let's see if anyone was even there. Without going back. Oh my goodness. See? Let's see. Danzo. Oh man, I haven't seen Danzo in a minute. I hope he's doing well. Windfall, JPP, my homies. Czar. Let's see what else we got. Frank White. Annie. Oh, Annie's still around. So that's pretty cool. Hi, Tetroners. That's pretty funny. But yeah, as you can see, I've come a long way, and I got a long way to go, guys. I got a long way to go. But yeah, then also I should start doing some shorts too, because why not? And then also, this was my trip in Croatia. I did a little time lapse of the sun. The sunset there is just truly incredible. Honestly, it really is amazing. So yeah, leave it there for today. Actually, leave it there. I won't go on and on and on. But again, I appreciate you all. I hope everyone has a fantastic night. I'm going to be back streaming next Monday, and stay tuned. I am going to be doing a giveaway. I'm going to do a $25 GameStop gift card giveaway. Again, follow me on X because I'm probably going to be doing it on there. I don't know how I could really do it on YouTube. I feel like X, it's probably best to just be like retweet and comment. I'll pick a winner, and I'll find that wheel that everyone uses where you just spin it around, and I'll put everyone in there and choose a lucky winner at random, right? And then I think that's going to be the first of many giveaways to come. You know, as I keep building up and getting my little bit of revenue, I do want to give back and do giveaways, essentially marketing the channel, right? That's kind of a way to look at it. And then also, you guys have been so great this whole time, so it's cool to be able to give back. And then also, people get to shop GameStop, right? So it sounds like a win all around. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Still sorting out the details. And if you want to just see some other further thoughts on GameStop and whatnot, feel free to just scroll through my highlights on YouTube. And also, really to me, like I don't ever, a lot of people say, oh, try and do some kind of brand deal or affiliate marketing. Like I don't want to do that. I want to just like not advertise other people or other things, but I'll go ahead and advertise for myself. So I'll advertise for myself and not other people. And I think that's a pretty fair way to go about it. So appreciate you guys very, very much. And Sharon, thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Yes, Team 51. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, thank you guys. Everyone have a fantastic night. Take care.